Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. For today, we'll start a new session, which is epidemiology, which is the continuation of community health nursing sessions. What do you know about epidemiology before the objective and before starting the session? So, when you hear the term epidemiology, what do you think of?
الحسابات
الحسابات حسابات الدكان ولا؟ So yes, calculation is there. What kind of calculation?
about
Like-
community.
About?
Community.
So what does that include? What kind of calculation that we are doing? Yes, calculation are there, but what kind of calculation in the epidemiology? Related to what? During the period of spread of corona, you were saying the big charts related to that. It is a kind of epidemiological study. Huh? Did you remember that? No one is here. Okay. So we will start our learning objective. So at the end of the session, you will be able to define the term related to epidemiological, pandemic, and endemic. Discuss the importance of epidemiology. Explain the host, agent, and environment. Discuss the nature of the natural history of disease and level of prevention. List the major causes of epidemiological information and distinguish between incidence, prevalence in health and illness states. Apply the epidemiological format to calculate the following indicators. You have to be able to calculate the crude mortality rate, crude birth rate, case fertility rate, age-specific mortality rate, general fertility rate, maternal mortality rate, infant mortality rate, and prenatal mortality rate. And I give you that worksheet in order to work on that. Describe the chain of causation of disease. Explain the role of causation matrix of disease. Define the immunity and compare the passive immunity and active immunity, cross immunity and its relation. Differentiate between the epidemiological research and research process. So this is the objective that we will cover during this session. So first, the definition of epidemiology. It is mostly those terms are Latin words. So epi, it means upon. Demos, so it came from epi and demos and ology. So demos, it means people. So it is studying something on people. So it is ology, it is mean a science or knowledge. So epidemiology, if we bind it together, it means that the science which deal with the health of people. So it is the science that deal with the health of people, a bridge between biomedical, social, and behavioral sciences. So it is the study of the disease process and the causation and also how the disease are spread within the community. Epidemiology is concerned with the distribution and determinant of health and disease, morbidity related to specific disease, injuries, disabilities related to specific disease, mortality and population. This is it from the first and seller in 2009. Also, in epidemiology, there are other terms, like we heard epidemic. Epidemic. What that mean? Epidemic, it refers to the disease which occurrence that clearly exceed the normal expected rate or frequency in a community or a region. So, when we have an increase in number of certain cases within a community, it is called epidemic. There is another term which is pandemic. Pandemic, when the epidemic disease is worldwide, like if we apply it in coronavirus. Coronavirus, it is started where, if you remember,
2018.
2019, this is the time. Where does it start? In China. So when it was still in China, it was epidemic in China because still there is no spread outside. If we are considering it as it is coming from China, we didn't want to enter in the other issues. When it came out of China, it is pandemic. So pandemic, it means that it is spread to other community or other countries. The endemic, it is the continuation process of disease or infectious agent in a given geographical area. So endemic, it is within a small geographical area. So endemic, it is a smaller. Epidemic, it is on the whole country or a whole community. Pandemic, it is worldwide. It will be spread out. This is, we can consider it as when it started in Wuhan. This is when it spread to China. This is when it is spread to the whole world. Okay, did you understand the difference between those terms? Importance of epidemiology. Why epidemiology is important? When any disease is started, they will investigate the nature of the disease. What that type of disease? What is the disease? What's the causative agent of the disease? How the phenomena of the spread of that disease? Why they are studying it? What's the purpose of that? In order to, I want something from you. Huh? When we are studying the phenomena of the disease, when we study the causative agent and how is it spread, we are going to take an action if we understand it. So the action, it will be how to prevent the spread. If you going back, because everybody know about that disease, so going back to coronavirus, when it is spread, they know or they start to know that it is a respiratory disease, isn't it? So the main thing that they were concentrating on is the use of what? Mask. Use of mask and hand hygiene. Because it is the most important thing in prevention or controlling the spread of the disease. So they investigate the nature and extent of health-related phenomena in a community, identified priorities. So to identify the priorities, then the study of natural history and prognosis of the health-related problem. how the disease is progress and what's the prognosis of it. Is it self-limited? Is it does need the treatment? It will lead to some chronic illnesses or the disability or so they have to understand what is going on after that disease. To identify the cause and the risk factor in order to avoid the risk factor and to treat the cause. To recommend and assist the application of evaluation of best intervention. So by that they will choose the best intervention in order to deal with that problem. To provide foundation for public policies also. And you see the public policies that came with Corona. It was closer sometime, it was even preventing the people from going or crowdedness. There are many things that they were using during that pandemic. To provide a frame of reference for investigation and improving a clinical practice in any setting. And if you remember also, they were using a different protocols for treatment. And the protocol for treatment, it was, because it is a new disease for them, the protocol of the treatment, it was changing during the period of the infection. So it was changing from month to month sometimes, because they make a study and they discover something which is applying the epidemiology on that disease, and they will change their plan. In any infection, there is the triangle of causative of disease. So there is host, agent, and environmental model. So for all disease, it needs to have a host who is harboring the microorganism or the causative agent, the agent, which is the causative agent of the disease, which is either bacteria, virus, or any causative agent. Then the environment, which is the suitable environment for development of that disease. So the host, it is the susceptible human or animal. Why we said that susceptible? What's the meaning of susceptible? Susceptible, the more prone to develop the disease. So the susceptible human or animals who harbor and nourish the disease causing agent. So the host here is the one who is having the microorganism, either if it is animal or a human being. So like in acquired immune disease or AIDS, the one who is having the virus, he is a host. He is a host that can transfer the disease to others. So the virus is living within the body of that person. So he is a host. The other who are not having the virus, they are normal people, they are not having a disease. They might get it if the condition, any condition is suitable for the transfer of the infection to them, according to the mode of transmission. So, the agent, it is the factor that cause the or contribute to the health problems or condition. So, the agent, it is the bacteria or the virus or the helminth. Like in AIDS, it is the virus Environmental, or the environment, all the external factor, surrounding the host that might influence the vulnerability and resistance. So that environment, either it will be a suitable environment that increase the possibility of getting infection of other, or we can prepare an environment which increase the resistance against getting the disease. So when we are studying the whole thing about the disease, we are preparing the environment in order to have an environment which increase the prevention of risk of getting the infection. It will increase or decrease the possibility of transmission of the disease. There is theories of causality in health and illness, relationship between cause and its effect, the chain of causation. We will see the chain of causation, how it happened. Causation is there is non-infectious disease also, that environmental exposure to some hazard, like exposure to radiation, like exposure to any other environmental hazard. Potential health autonomies, multiple causation, there is multiple causation, which is Dover's epidemiological model, also it's called the web of causation. So the epidemiological trees or triangle, as we said, we have the host, agent, and environment. Either it will lead to state of illness. So we have to have a source of infection in order to spread of the infection. So source of infection, that might be animal or human being. There is agent, which is the bacteria or virus or helminth, and the suitable environment for transfer of the infectious disease. If we are trying to cut that triangle, if we are removing one of the angle, if we work in the host by isolation. So in this case, we are preventing the agent from going to other host, to other susceptible person. If we are treating the host, also we are getting rid of the agent inside the host, so he will not be able, or the agent will not be able to pass to others. If we work with the environment also, and prepare the environment in order to have a safe environment, this also will decrease the possibility of the disease. So, like, if the chain of causation here, we are taking it for malaria. So, if we have a human with malaria, we call that he is a reservoir. A reservoir means that he is the one who have malaria parasite inside his body. So, if we are in contact with that person, does the malaria will be transferred to us? Is there a possibility of getting malaria from that person?
No.
No. Why?
Because it's transferring by the blood.
Because the parasite, it cannot pass from human being to human being direct. There is another stage. So there is an mosquito. When it bites and suck the blood of the infected person, so there should be a portal of exit of that microorganism. The portal of exit for this disease, it is sucking blood from the person by the female Anopheles mosquito. If we have contact with the blood of that person, does the malaria will transfer to us? No. Because there is another stage. So after you wash, no, nothing will happen. So, mode of transmission. The protozoa multiplying in the mosquito itself. And there is a different life stage. Then, so this is the mode of transmission. Agent will be developed here in the mosquito, and the anopheles mosquito bite an infected human being. So when it bites the uninfected human being through injecting that protozoa or to the blood of that person. So the other human will become a new host. So this is the chain. If we cut the chain from any part, by that we are preventing the spread of the disease. So if we are treating all the hosts, in this case, no agent will be there. If we are getting rid of the female anopheles mosquito, in this case, we are preventing the spread of infection. So they are working in malaria, they are working mostly in what?
Mosquito.
In the mosquito. So it depends upon the stages of development of the disease and how the mode of transmission. So go back to coronavirus. Coronavirus, it is the common thing that, because it is not a long back, when the virus came to most of the country, do everybody in the community got the virus? Huh? هل صابت الجميع؟ Why? Do you think that you didn't get, if you didn't get the infection, do you think that you were not exposed to the virus during that period? Huh?
No.
You might, yes, you might expose to that virus. You might got the virus, but you didn't got
Infection.
the infection. Why?
Immunity.
Because there are many factors. There is the immunity, the strength of the immune system. There is also the amount of the viral load, how many virus got at a time to your body. So if you are exposed to a minimal amount of the virus, your immune system will deal with it, and by that you will develop immunity. The other thing, which is the vaccination, but also we are giving a natural immunity. If you remember natural immunity, how natural immunity can be developed. مناعة طبيعية كيف تحدث؟ Huh?
Vaccination.
Either the vaccine, if you're getting live attenuated vaccine sometime, or a part of the bacteria or the virus, or that the body will develop an antibody to it, or
Mother.
there is a natural immunity, which is due to exposure to the disease itself. So those who exposed to the disease, even if they got the infection, after they recover, they develop an immunity to that specific type of the virus. Because of that, there were some mutation. So some of the people, they got the infection more than one time, because the mutated virus, it is somehow different from the previous one. So anyhow, A host is the ability to resist particular infection, disease causing agent. There is a passive immunity, which is a short-term acquired natural or artificial immunity. Passive immunity, it means when we are getting the antibody, like the immunoglobulin. Because of that, if you remember also, they were using the plasma to treat people. So the plasma of the infected person, because in the plasma there were a high rate of antigen, antibody, sorry. Active immunity, which will give a long-term immunity. It depends upon the type of the disease, of the microorganism, if it is having mutation or not. Sometimes lifelong acquired natural immunity or artificial immunity. Natural immunity after getting the disease, artificial after getting the vaccination. Cross immunity to one agent provided immunity to another related agent. So there are some cross immunity that when there is a similarity of the infectious disease. Herd immunity or immunity level present in the population as a group, اللي هم كانوا يحكوا عليها المناعة المجتمعية أو المناعة القطيع زي ما كانوا المصطلحات اللي كانت دارجة وكنتوا تسمعوها بالله. The risk, it is the probability that the disease or unfavorable health condition will develop. So directly influenced by the biology, the environment, and also the lifestyle, because all of those factors, it will affect the immune system of us. It will affect our immune system of healthcare. Because of that, if you remember, also, we will go back to coronavirus. During the first period, there were a very hard restriction. Why? Because they don't know about their health system. It can occupy and it can deal with a large number of people at that time or not. Because of that, they were very strict in dealing with that disease. Risk factor of negative influence also, and epidemiological study in the population at risk, which is collection of people among whom health problems has a possibility to develop, or the people at risk, because of certain influencing factor are presenting or absence, or because of their more modifying risk factors. Because of that, also you see that the restriction, or they were concentrating more in pregnant women, in old age, because those people, they are having low immunity. The first, when they start, because the vaccine was limited at the first time, they start with people who are over 60. They start also, then they start with others. So they start with those who are at a big risk. Those diabetic patients, because their immune system is also affected. Measurement of relative risk ratio indicate the rate of exposed group, which is incidence rate, and unexposed group. About the natural history of disease and health condition, we have susceptibility stage. In the susceptibility stage, it is the disease not present in the individual. So when we see that this person is susceptible, it means that still he is not having the infection, but he is more likely to develop the infection if if the microorganism reach his body. So the disease is not present in the individual, have not been exposed. Host and environmental factor could vary, likely influencing people susceptibility to causative agent and lead to development of the disease. So there are the factor within the host and factor within the environment that it might increase or decrease the possibility of getting an infection. There is another thing which is subclinical stage. In the subclinical stage, is the person here infected or not? In the subclinical stage, infected, but still there is no signs and symptom. So when individual is exposed to a disease, but he is not having a symptom, it is asymptomatic. So still the microorganism, still his body physiology is controlling that. Still no signs and symptom is appearing. There is also incubation period. What we mean by incubation period? It is the period between getting infection, yes, until no. Until signs and symptoms are appearing. So the period between entrance of microorganism to the body and the time of appearing signs and symptoms. So incubation period, during this period, which the organism multiply in the body to sufficient number to produce a host reaction and the clinical symptom. So this is the incubation period. And it's different from microorganism to microorganism. It might be 1 day, it might be 1 year or more. Induction period, which is a condition caused by non-infectious agent, the time from exposure to onset of symptom, known as induction period or latency period. Sometimes you are exposed to certain environmental factors, or that after that there is a period that you are living normally, but after many days, or after a few days, or after 1 month, or after 1 year, or after 5 years, you might develop a signs and symptom related either to the infection or to the environmental factor, or like poison, like exposure to radiation, so there are many things like this. The clinical disease stage, in the clinical disease stage, here the signs and symptoms of the disease or the condition are developed, and here it is easier to diagnose it. Before, in the subclinical stage, we have to identify through screening. So screening is the choice for the first one in order to treat it from the beginning, and it will be easier. Which is then resolution stage, the disease or health condition cause sufficient anatomical or functional changes to product or recognizable signs and symptoms. So, in phase 1, which is the very pathogenous, stage 1, which is the susceptible, we said that he didn't have the microorganism still, but his body is more liable to have that infection or that disease. Stage 2, subclinical disease. So he is exposed to that microorganism. He got the microorganism, but still he didn't have any signs and symptoms. So he is in the stage 1. So we have to identify the people at risk, in order to prevent them from getting the disease, we have to do screening in order to find those who are infected but still in the subclinical period, in order to treat them and prevent the development of the disease process. Stage phase 2 with the pathogenesis. Here, the clinical disease is apparent, the signs and symptom is apparent, and it's clear. In this case, the person will go to the healthcare. Stage 4, recovery and disability or death. So the consequence, either the person will recover if he is treated well and according to the prognosis of the disease, progress of the disease, or he might get a disability due to that, or he might die. So those are the possibilities. So in each stage, we have to have a different type of care in order to prevent that. So there are level of prevention. In primary prevention, the primary prevention is mostly concentrating on health education, in supporting the immune system by supporting the nutrition, doing exercises, by that taking vaccination, by that we are preventing or primary prevent exposure to the disease. The health protection may provide improve the housing or the environment, immunization, and removal of the environmental hazard within the community. The secondary prevention, which is the third stage in the natural history of the disease, early pathogenic or onset of pathogenic, screening program has to be done, like screening for cancer, screening for diabetics, screening for hypertension, screening for those who are in case of infectious disease, screening test for those who are getting the infection, promote treatment, immediate promotion of treatment, arrest prognosis or progression, prevent associated disability by that. The rehabilitation then, or the third or tertiary prevention, reduce the extent or severity of health problem to minimize disability and restore or prevent the loss of function. This is after getting the infection. So the prevention of here health promotion and education training of employee for homeless population, group treatment and rehabilitation of adolescent and drug user, providing food, shelter, health protection, health services, immunization as needed. For epidemiology, we said that it is study and also study of the disease process. Because of that, we have to have an information. We have to have statistic. So there is vital statistics. Vital statistic, which refer to the information gathered from ongoing registration of birth, death, adoption, divorce, and marriage. So now there, in each government, in each country, there is a national recording system for all of these cases. And from that, we can see the rate for each of them. There is also census data. Census data, you heard here that every 10 years they are doing census on the population. تعداد السكاني كل 10 سنوات. So it is data information and the population census taken every 10 years. That census, it is done in order to build upon it the plan, their plan. Because the plan it depends upon the statistics. If we want to open a health center, we have to open a health center for a group of people. So we cannot open a health center for a village which has only 2 families there and 10 people are there only. So in this case, how we can plan the site for a health center or a site for a hospital? It depends upon number of population that's served in that area. Reportable disease. Also, the source of information is according to the reportable disease. There are a reportable disease, like infectious disease. It has to be reported. Some of the diseases it has to be reported immediately, and it will be reported to the headquarters, then to the Ministry of Health. Then it might be reported also some of the diseases to World Health Organization immediately. Disease registration also, or register. When you are going to the hospital for any case or any treatment, they will have a data about it. They will take a data, they will register, and it will go, they will do statistics for it. So from that, it is a source of epidemiology. Environmental monitoring or monitoring health hazard found in environmental pesticides, industrial waste also, which might cause some diseases, radioactive and nuclear material, chemical additive in the food, and medical drug are list of pollution. Drugs are the list of pollutant in the community. Natural Center of Health Statistic and Health Survey, so there are health survey centers. Informal observation studies, sometimes they are doing informal studies, and from that they might get some benefit. Scientific studies also, which is carefully designed to scientific study for a certain disease or certain phenomena within the environment. Distinguish between incidence and prevalence in health and illness states. The incidence, it's referred to all new cases. So incidence of any disease, it refers to new cases from that disease or health condition appearing during a given time. So incidence rate of a certain disease, it is number of persons developing that disease over the total number of people at risk at that time. The incident rate, number of persons who got the disease divided by the number of people who are at risk of developing that disease. We call it the incident rate. So number of person with a characteristic total number of population. This is the prevalence refer to all of the people with particular health condition existing in a given population at a given point of time. So prevalence rate, number of person with characteristic over the total number of the population. We are going also to take the crude birth rate. Crude birth rate, it is number of live birth in a given year over the number of population multiplied by 10,000. Crude birth rate, crude death rate, case fertility rate. So we will come to that in the next session. There is a question here. During which of the following stage would the community health nurse first expect to see signs of the disease through laboratory testing. Through laboratory testing. In which stage? Is it the susceptibility stage, or subclinical disease stage, or clinical disease stage, or resolution stage? Huh? Subclinical, yes. It is clinical case disease stage. Mostly clinical and subclinical. Subclinical, yes, it might be there, but sometimes it might be identified or not because the number of microorganisms will be low. If we are studying web of causation, just an example of causation here. So if we are taking road traffic accident. In road traffic accident, there are many factors that might cause the problems. Either it might be the road, problem within the road, or it can be from the weather and environment, or it can be from the vehicle, or it can be from the driver. So there are many possibilities of causing the disease. So when they are studying the phenomena of road traffic accident, they are studying all of those conditions. When any accident happens, they will categorize that cause of accident according to the cause, the main cause of it. So if it is within the road is not constructed well. In this case, they have to work in order to prevent the road traffic accident. They have to work on what? They have to work in the improvement of the road itself. And you might observe that when they're improving the roads and the type of the road construction, the number of accidents, it will become less. So condition of the surface of the road, construction of it, speed limit on the road, traffic pattern, if there is a heavy traffic or not, within the weather, if there is rain, the visibility also, كان جو ضباب مطر. So slippery road sometimes, vehicle, the function of the brake, the function of the Uber also, the tires condition. So all of that, it will be included. Function of the engine, function of the headlight also, the front light. In the driver, there is either knowledge of the vehicle, how did he know about his vehicle, how it can work or not, because some of the accidents happen because of overtaking. So did he know that he will be able to overtake before the other vehicle which is coming from that side is coming in clash with him? Driving experience also. Driving speed. Sometimes, yes, we know that speed limit, but we are exceeding the speed limit. Driver health. If you are having some kind of diseases, you might not be able to see from a distance. Because of that, you might be exposed to any healthy condition. So this will lead to automobile crashing and accident. So there are many causes of that. So in research process and epidemiological study, we identify the problem first, review the literature, design the study, collect data, then analyze the finding and develop conclusion and application of that, and disseminate the finding if it is clear. It can be disseminated, or it might lead to a further study. So this is the process. We will not go in detail with that because you know that. So this is the end of this presentation. There is another presentation which is related to calculation. I will give you 10 minutes break. After that, we will come and continue. Okay, thank you.